Prevention of Tooth Decay. A digital education program. Part 3. Why sugar causes so much damage and the sugar clock. Part 3. Why does a sugar intake cause so much damage? When you have sugar, in this example, you drink a cup of tea with sugar, the bacteria convert sugar into acid. The acid makes the tooth weak. After you have stopped consuming sugar, in this example, you finished drinking tea with sugar, the acid remains in the mouth for 45 minutes, and continues to make the tooth weak. This causes more damage to the tooth. The saliva takes 45 minutes to wash away the acid. This is the reason the acid stays in your mouth for 45 minutes. The sugar clock measures the total time for acid in the mouth. The time acid is produced whilst eating sugar, plus 45 minutes of time that acid remains in the mouth, equals the total time for acid is in your mouth, or sugar clock for this intake. In this example, you drank tea with sugar over 10 minutes, plus the 45 minutes time acid remains in the mouth. So the total time for acid in your mouth, or the sugar clock, is 55 minutes. The longer total time for acid in the mouth means more time for acid to weaken the tooth, so there is more chance of tooth decay. Sugar clock for the day. Bob's day of food and drink. Bob only has 4 cups of tea with sugar in the whole day. Bill's day of food and drink. Bill has 2 slices of cake and 8 chocolate bar for breakfast, and the same for dinner. Bill has 20 grams of sugar for the day. Bob has 150 grams of sugar for the day. Which day of sugar shall cause tooth decay? Let us work out the sugar clock for Bob. Bob drinks tea with sugar at 9 a.m. for 10 minutes. This produces acid for 10 minutes. This acid remains in the mouth for 45 minutes. The sugar clock for the tea intake is 55 minutes. The sugar clock for tea is also 55 minutes, at 12 p.m. at 4 p.m. and at 6 p.m. The sugar clock for the day is 55 minutes at 9 a.m., 55 minutes at 12 p.m., 55 minutes at 4 p.m., and 55 minutes at 6 p.m., all added together. So the sugar clock for the day is 220 minutes. Now, let us work out the sugar clock for Bill. Bill at 9 a.m. has 2 slices of cake, a chocolate, and tea, for 20 minutes. This sugar produces acid, for 20 minutes. The acid remains in the mouth, for 45 minutes. The sugar clock for the intake is 65 minutes. Bill has the same meal at 6 p.m. The sugar clock for the meal is also 65 minutes. The sugar clock for the day is 65 minutes at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. added together. So, the sugar clock for the day is 130 minutes. So Bob, who consumed 20 grams of sugar for the day, is at higher risk of tooth decay than Bill, who consumed 150 grams of sugar for the day. This is why the damage to teeth is caused by the frequency of sugar, and not the amount of sugar.
Because we are microscopic bacteria. Both a slice of cake or a cup of sugary tea are huge amounts of sugar for us bacteria.
The sugar clock for the day measures the total time for acid in the mouth for the whole day. The longer total time for the day means more risk of tooth decay. General health message versus tooth decay message. Larger amount of sugar consumed in one meal does not cause more tooth decay, so it does not make your dental health worse. Larger amount of sugar consumed does make your general health worse. So for good general health, please reduce the amount of sugar consumed. To prevent tooth decay, reduce the number of sugar intakes. E-learning summary. E-learning 1. Sugar eaten turns into acid, and after your sugar meal the acid stays for an extra 45 minutes. E-learning 2. Sugar clock measures the total time for acid in the mouth. E-learning 3. Sugar clock is for an intake and sugar clock for the day. Different types of sugar. Let's have a quiz. The amount of sugar and tooth decay. Question 1. What is the sugar clock for? Having tea with 5 grams of sugar over 10 minutes versus having tea with 20 grams of sugar over 10 minutes. What causes more tooth decay? Question 2. What is the sugar clock for? Having 5 grams of sugar in tea over 10 minutes versus having 40 grams of sugar in the carrot cake over 10 minutes? What causes more tooth decay? The number of sugar items and tooth decay. Question 3. What is the sugar clock for? Having 5 grams of sugar in tea over 10 minutes versus having 2 cakes and chocolate consumed in 20 minutes. What causes more tooth decay? The time consuming sugar and tooth decay. Question 4. What is the sugar clock for? Having tea with sugar over 10 minutes versus having tea with sugar over 40 minutes? What causes more tooth decay? The answers. Having tea with 5 grams of sugar over 10 minutes has a sugar clock of 55 minutes. Having tea with 20 grams of sugar over 10 minutes has the same sugar clock of 55 minutes. Both have the same risk of tooth decay. Having tea with 5 grams of sugar over 10 minutes has a sugar clock of 55 minutes. Having 40 grams of sugar in the carrot cake over 10 minutes has the same sugar clock of 55 minutes. Both have the same risk of tooth decay. Having tea with 5 grams of sugar over 10 minutes has a sugar clock of 55 minutes. Having 2 cakes and chocolate consumed in 20 minutes has a sugar clock of 65 minutes. Once you have any sugar, the sugar clock starts ticking. So it is better to have all your sugar items in one short meal than over many meals, because you have a smaller sugar clock. Having tea with 5 grams of sugar over 10 minutes has a sugar clock of 55 minutes. Having tea with sugar, over 40 minutes, has a sugar clock of 85 minutes. Taking longer time to consume sugar, gives more risk of tooth decay. 4+ intakes of sugar, causes tooth decay. Not the amount of sugar per meal. Multiple sugar items, eaten in one mealtime, counts as one sugar intake. Versus, large sugar item, eaten in one mealtime, also counts as one sugar intake. Versus, small sugar item, eaten in one mealtime, also counts as one sugar intake. All do the same damage. The longer time you consume sugar, the longer time for acidic production by bacteria, so more damage is done. For example, tea with sugar consumed over 40 minutes, does more damage than tea consumed over 10 minutes. Another example, when you drink beer continuously, for the whole football match, causing continuous damage to teeth. So, minimize time consuming sugar. Let's have another quiz. Fizzy sugary drinks and tooth decay. Question 1. What is the sugar clock for having sugar in tea over 10 minutes versus having sugary fizzy drink over 10 minutes? What causes more tooth decay? Sticky sugary food and tooth decay. Question 2. What is the sugar clock for having sugar in tea over 10 minutes versus having a toffee sweet over 10 minutes? What causes more tooth decay? The answers. Having tea with 5 grams of sugar over 10 minutes has a sugar clock of 55 minutes. Having sugary fizzy drink over 10 minutes has the same sugar clock of 55 minutes. But fizzy drink also have their own acid. So sugary fizzy drinks have a much worse risk of tooth decay. Having tea with 5 grams of sugar over 10 minutes has a sugar clock of 55 minutes. Having a toffee over 10 minutes has a sugar clock of many hours. This is because the toffee sticks to your teeth and stays in your mouth for many hours. So sticky food have a really bad risk of tooth decay. Sugary fizzy drinks are more damaging than normal sugary foods. This is because sugary fizzy drinks have their own acid, which dissolves tooth, as well as the sugar converted to acid by bacteria. So, avoid consuming sugary fizzy drinks. Sticky sugary foods are far more damaging than normal sugary foods, because it gets stuck in between your teeth and on the biting surfaces, so a sugar acid attack lasts for hours, causing severe damage to your teeth. So it is important to remove sugary food debris after a meal, by flossing in between teeth, and brushing grooves in the biting surfaces. Especially at night, so sugar does not rot your teeth while you sleep. E-learning summary. What counts as a sugar intake? E-learning 1. Amount of sugar does not cause more tooth decay. E-learning 2. Multiple sugar items in a sugar intake does not cause more tooth decay. E-learning 3. More time you spend eating sugar causes more tooth decay. Different types of sugar intakes. E-learning 4. Sugary acidic food and drinks cause more tooth decay. E-learning 5. Sticky sugary food causes more tooth decay.